Hello, welcome to my STEM Pathways project. I have created a business plan for Plastica Rafiki using Google Sheets, spreadsheets. So one of the major problems that Plastica Rafiki, especially the admin side, has had last year, it has been to organize data, to make sense of the finances. We have been failing miserably at this, so much so that we don't even know if we were in a profit or loss last year. And so hopefully the purpose of creating this business plan or workspace calculator is really to synthesize the data that we have or the data that will be potentially available to us once school starts, and be able to make business decisions in future that are based on concrete numbers, that's based on solid evidence. So let's get started. So the first aspect is the sales aspect, and we have to consider the cost of each product before we're able to make any business decisions. So last semester, I used an electricity meter to calculate the kilowatt hours used per day by the shredder and the injection molder machines. And using this information of approximately how KPLC prices the kilowatt hour at 10 shillings, I was able to calculate the cost per hour for using these machines. And using the data available for the mass of plastic used, I estimated that we make approximately 30 magnets in an hour. So here you can show the calculations for the total energy cost. And again, for the material cost, which in this case is going to be an actual magnet, I am simply guessing it. I've based it off of Jumia and a bunch of other places, but these are, again, just rough estimates. More accurate work can be done on these numbers, whether it be in terms of the material cost or the electricity cost, when school starts running again, or we're in a position to gather the data. So those are the costs. Now, this sheet talks about two main columns here, which are the one-time costs and the fixed costs. So the one-time costs you can consider them as a kind of an investment cost. So for example, we ran out of an injection molder. We had to construct one this month, and it cost us about 60K. We also had to repair a heating element, which cost us 8K shillings. So those are the one-time costs. You had to pay for them once. Now we also have fixed costs. So we have, which we pay for monthly on a recurring basis. So for example, we have our website costs. I have no idea as to how much we actually pay for it each month, but this is a rough estimate. There are a lot of institutions who want to partner up with Plastica Rafiki so that they know they can start their own workspaces with our recycling machines. And for that, they need to know how much it actually costs to, get the business up and running, and how much time will it take before they can start earning in profits. So this information can be super important here, where people can use this tool to fill in their rent and their other fixed costs and their one-time costs for each month. And that will contribute later towards our profit margins and everything. So this column is a little bit peculiar. Again, this information is pretty rough, but this will be more useful when we're talking about the system where people are paid on a per hour basis. So touching on that now, let me talk about the two models that I have. So I have dashboards. I have two dashboards actually. And the dashboard is pretty much the most important sheet in this spreadsheet. It has all the math, it has all the formulas, and it does all the analysis for you. So I have two models for the dashboards, one of them being where the producers are being paid on a per product basis, and then I have laborers being paid on a per hour basis. So for the per product basis, which is what we currently use, we have the products, of course, we have the selling price, and then we have the percentage of selling price given as labor costs. So for example, Ferris, he produces a magnet, we sell it for 250 shillings, but we decide to allocate 20% of that money so that goes to Ferris. Now, the reason why we use different percentages for different products is simply because some products are harder to make than others, and so it's totally up to you as to how you want to adjust these. Then we have the number of sales per month. So this tells us we sold 50 magnets in January, let's say. We use the total electricity and material cost from the sales sheet before. We use the total labor cost as 20% of 250 shillings, which is 50 shillings. So 10% of 400 shillings is 40 shillings. That's how we calculate the labor cost per product. And then we use the total cost per product, which is going to be the electricity plus material plus labor cost. So this is how much it costs us to make a magnet. Profit is going to be how much we sell the magnet for minus the cost for producing the magnet. And so the profit margin is just profit over revenue, which tells us of the amount by which our revenue from sales exceeds costs in a business. Again, I think this is the most important column in this sheet because it tells us what products give us the maximum profit, what products are the most economical, most efficient to make, what products should we prioritize. Now, of course, the greater these numbers are, the more profit we're earning. But I think something really convenient about this worksheet, this spreadsheet as a tool, is that you can manipulate these numbers as you like. So for example, I'm not happy with the 50% margin on my clock. I want a higher profit margin. So what I can do is I can either raise the selling price of the clock. I'm going to sell it for 900 shillings. I don't want to pay Ferris 5% of that. I want to pay him 3%. So I decrease the amount I pay him. I also want to increase the sales of clocks either by marketing or any other means. So I can push that up to 20. And automatically we'll be able to see, even though it's a gradual increase, we can see that by making slight manipulations to things that are under our control, we'll be able to change the profit margins according to what we want or according to our goals. So we have the total revenue here. Now this table is really important. It's a summary table and it tells us the revenue earned per month, which is the sum of this column right here. It tells us the one-time costs, so the investment costs of the injection molder and the repairing. It tells us the fixed costs for the month, which is 1,200 shillings, electricity costs, material costs, labor costs, etc. And this cell is actually the most important because this tells us whether we've made a profit or a loss. So right now we've actually made a loss, that's why it's in red. We've made a loss of about 7,000 shillings. Why? Because, well, our investment costs or our costs were higher than our revenue. We could have sold more products potentially, blah, blah, blah. Again, this kind of analysis will help us in our business decisions. So I think this piece in the spreadsheet is super important. This also tells us our individual costs. So in the future, if we want to tell people as to how much electricity is consumed or how much they have to pay for electricity on an average for a certain machine, we can use these numbers. If we want to reduce our material costs, if we want to, look forward to buying things in bulk for the next month, we can again use these numbers to make predictions. I think one of the really cool other aspects is they are the charts here. So we have three charts. One of them shows the per product revenue versus cost. So the red bars show the revenue of each product, and the green bars show the cost, and they just show the ratios of cost versus revenue. So we know that the ratio of cost to revenue for clocks is comparatively higher to other ratios, which means that clocks are probably not as profitable of a product, so they're not our priority. We should probably focus on other products that have minimalistic cost as compared to the revenue, and we should capitalize on that. Then we have the pie chart, which shows the total monthly profit by product. Now it's a little bit skewed because I entered a little bit biased information for the clocks. These are not the actual numbers, but we'll be able to guess that earrings and necklaces contribute the most to the profit, whereas keychains probably don't contribute as much with only 12%. So those should probably not be our priority. Then we also have the revenue versus total costs graph, which shows us that our one-time costs are almost equal to the revenue earned this month, which means that from next month onwards, we'll need to figure out a way as to how to decrease this. All right, let's go to dashboard number 2. So this dashboard deals with the same thing, but instead of paying the laborers or the producers per product. We're paying them on a per hour basis. So the reason the reason I'm doing this is because there are many businesses. Well, I think most of the businesses around the world, they use the per hour wage per hour working basis to pay their workers. Plastiki Rafiki is a fairly small scale organization for now, so it makes more sense for us to do the paying per product system. But let's just examine the two, and we'll be able to compare. So we have the selling price, we have the sales per month, we have the electricity and the material costs. Now we have, as we estimated, we said we're going to produce 30 magnets in an hour, which tells us that 1 divided by 30, which is this formula here, it tells us the number of working hours to produce one product. So right here, we've included our labor cost. We say that we're gonna pay people 300 shillings an hour. So we can multiply the 300 by the number of hours it's gonna take us to produce one magnet to calculate the labor cost per product. And so again, the total cost is gonna be the total material plus electricity cost plus the labor cost per product. So the profit per product is going to be 250 minus that total cost. And the profit margin is again going to be profit over revenue. Now, one thing you'll notice here is that we're actually making a higher profit margin using the per hour wage system rather than the per product. Here on magnets, so for the per product, we're earning a 76.6% profit margin, whereas here it's a 92.63. So you would say that it actually makes more sense for us to switch to the wage per hour system, but this wouldn't make sense because how can we prevent people from just saying that they've worked 5 hours a day and that they've barely produced 30 magnets overall? So their efficiency goes down. In an hour, they might just be producing 5 magnets instead of 30, and they would still have to be paid 300 shillings. And so our profit margins, they decrease significantly, and so will the efficiency of our business. So again, here's the summary table. We can use this information. We're still in a loss of 17,000 shillings, and we have similar graphs here to make sense of the data. All right, so moving on to the extras here. So on this last sheet, we have a few extra things. So here's a cash flow diagram, and this basically keeps track of monthly transactions. So the revenue coming in, the investment costs, the labor cost, material, electricity, blah, blah, blah. So the total cash in versus the total cash out, which we're still in a loss of about 7,000 shillings. And then that moves up to next month. And we're able to repeat the same process. And this kind of shows how the cash flows. And I've made a diagram. So this shows our profit over the months. So assuming that we're, let's say, making about 66,000 shillings each month, which is kind of a little bit of ambitious without any downfalls during the process, we will be able to get a steady graph with increasing profits till the end of the year. So that's pretty optimistic. One last thing that I wanted to show was stuff about carbon emissions. So I have shown the financial aspects of Plastiki Rafiki right till now. But I also wanted to show a little bit about the environmental impact that we're having. I've done the carbon emissions bit. So I estimated that with the total kilowatt hours, so in a typical month, we use about 12.4 kilowatt hours of electricity. So when I used this website here as a calculator, it estimated to be 0.009 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent that's released into the air. And so this is the same amount of, you can see the conversions here pretty much, but that's the same amount of gas emitted from 0.002 passenger vehicles driven for 1 year. And you can see the rest of the conversions here, pretty interesting. But I think what's interesting, even more interesting here, is the carbon sequestered by. It's the same amount of carbon which can be sequestered by 0.145 tree seedlings grown for 10 years or 0.011 acres of U.S. forests in 1 year. So yeah, we can see how our impact is not that bad because our machines are actually pretty good. Again, one caveat here is that the data wasn't actually available for all 4 machines that we use. It was only available for 2. But I'm pretty sure that with this model, with using this spreadsheet as a tool for making sense of our data, for manipulating data, for taking better business decisions in future, and for actually knowing if we make a profit or not, we can use the spreadsheet effectively, and this should work out well. Thank you.